Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Season 4, Episode 4. I nearly forgot to say both of those. Of So What's New in the Biscuit Tin. I'm Jess.
And I'm Sam. And we've got a guest today.
Yeah, we do. Who do we have? Please introduce yourself, mystery guest.
Oh, my name is Ruana and I am the Yorkshire Sew Girl. I feel like I'm on a quiz show. And I'm from Yorkshire.
It is such a joy to have you here. We have wanted to have you as a guest for ages, long-time friend of the podcast and biscuit donor to the podcast,
Yes,
which we have to
Absolute
say.
biscuit donor, yes.
Well, we cannot say thank you enough, can we, Sam? That
No.
was a fantastic box to receive.
Yeah.
And led to a hilarious swapping of biscuits in the back of Sam's car in the dark. It looks so suspect. So thank you
really
also for
dirty.
that. So funny. But we are so happy to have you on the podcast. So later on in the episode, we're going to be telling you our advice for new sewists or newer sewists, our
Okay.
unfiltered advice, the real
Mhm.
stuff. But before we get there, we have a very important question for our wonderful guest, which we ask every guest. Ruan, if you were a biscuit, what biscuit would you be?
Well, I work in biscuits every day, so I know a lot about biscuits. So that was quite a difficult question for me. However, one of my favourite biscuits ever is a jam sandwich cream. Now, I don't mean a jammy dodger. I mean a Fox's Biscuits jam sandwich cream. And there's a big difference because there's a big layer of cream in there. So you've got your crunchy biscuit, you've got your creamy cream in the middle, and then you've got your bit of sweet jam on the top with a little bit of sugar. So I think I'm a bit of everything.
We've never had
So,
that
yeah,
biscuit before.
I think I'm a jam sandwich cream, and it's my favourite biscuit as well. So I think that's probably why.
Oh, fantastic. That is a great answer. And we love
Yeah.
someone knowledgeable about biscuits on the podcast. That is always nice.
Yep.
It's an interesting one. We should probably recap this because we haven't really talked about it this season.
Mm.
Sam, can you tell us where the biscuit question comes from?
So it comes from the fact that my other half used this as an interview question to get to know people that he was interviewing rather than just the straightforward questions. And he did it years ago and it completely threw his boss a curveball when he asked this person across the table. His boss was like, "What?" And he said you can tell so much by like whether someone's got a sense of humour, whether they can think on their feet, and also what biscuit they respond with as well. So he came up with that. And then when Jess and I were thinking about the podcast and we came up with this whole idea, we was like, we have to do it. It's just, it's such an interesting question, like as an icebreaker that I ask people as well. So yes, much
Absolutely.
credit to my other half's random interview techniques.
I also think since we started the podcast, I've now met Ben quite a few times and it's much funnier to me now. Like having met him, I can see it so clearly, him just like throwing that out there.
Yeah.
But no, we love to ask our podcast guests that and actually frequently ask each other it as a measure of our mood of the day.
I was going to say, does it change though? Does it change each day?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I think ours are more vibes based.
Yeah. I've varied from being a stale custard cream through to what I had today. You know, so yeah, it was just. I think Jess just spat out some tea at that point there.
I tried to swallow some tea and it didn't go very well as you said that. Can I just raise something biscuit related? Actually, this is serendipity that happened today that I'm honestly shocked by. So Adam and I had to pop out for like an errand at lunch. We're on our way back and it's horrid and rainy and we were like, oh, should we get some biscuits? And we went into B&M, big packet of digestives, fine, came home. And then I walked back into the room and he went, oh, do you know what's happened? They were a month out of date. A month?
No.
Yeah. Date the
Fuming.
10th of January.
Fuming.
Is there anything more upsetting than thinking you're going to have a big stack of digestives with a cup of tea?
Did you eat it anyway though?
I think he ate 2 of them and then got a bit sad. So
Well, I'd have had a go. I'd have at least had a go.
I'd have had a good go.
Yeah.
If they hadn't tasted stale, they'd have been fine. You know.
Well, that's how he found out. He bit into them and was like, that's not right. What's going on? So it's a bit of a biscuit tragedy in our house today. We've had to get back to our Tunnock's wafers, which we have stocked in the house at all times. So
Yeah, you
As a-
need to
as a-
claim for
yeah.
trauma. I think that's trauma.
Are you-
McVitie's,
Are
if you're
you-
listening, please send us some.
So, Jess, when you finish your tea, are you going to tell us what biscuit you are today?
Oh, yes. Okay. I would say that I'm not playing for time at all. Um, I think I'm a ginger nut today. I think for a range of weird reasons actually. I was absolutely knackered when I woke up this morning because I did London winter run yesterday, and it was so cold. And you know when sometimes you're more sore from shivering than you are from actually
Yeah.
doing a thing. So I woke up this morning just ugh. And then as I went out, it was the most glorious, like, winter blue sky and sunny, and I just felt, that kind of warming feeling, and I think that's why I feel like a ginger nut, but also I've been feeling a little bit nauseous for, like, random endometriosis-related reasons, so I've been consuming loads of them. So, we're half and half, but I think that, like, winter warmer feeling,
I think
I feel
ginger's a little bit spicy as well,
yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah.
exactly, and that's how my lecture went this morning that I was teaching, so, yeah, I think perfect. Like, where am I? That's where I am today. What about you, Sam? Where are you today?
Well, I've gone for something completely different today. I am a chocolate dipped Florentine today.
All right.
Oh,
You've had a fancy day.
Wait,
What's going
I
on?
know you've got
nice.
to watch your crowns with them, haven't you? You've got to be careful there. But I'm just feeling like a bit fancy, but also quite ooh at the same time. So I just thought it summed up the element of feeling a bit fancy as well. So
Actually making
I
my
like
mouth
that.
water now.
Yeah, it's a mistake doing this without. I mean, I've got
yeah,
a cup of tea because I'm losing my voice a bit. I always do in the evenings on a Monday. But the urge, it's a real toss up, and listeners won't really have thought about this potentially. You want to eat biscuits because we talk about them, and then you realise you cannot both speak into a microphone and eat a biscuit. You just
it's too
can't. It doesn't.
dangerous.
We've tried. It really does
Yeah,
not work. So
so
Yeah, you need to
I do think
coordinate that so one of you can be
yeah,
eating while the other one's talking and vice versa.
yeah. I do need to say someone has left a comment on the podcast talking about how much they love Tim Tams. That's what they're called, isn't it?
yes, yes,
Oh,
they're
it's
the
And
not for
Australian
me.
one.
Not for me.
I
Oh,
was in Sainsbury's at the
oof.
weekend. They've got a massive section of them in there now.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
person now lives in Canada. She said they're really expensive, but I'm not sure how I feel about them. I don't know.
I think it's difficult because they are an Australian manufactured biscuit and the
Yeah.
taste is so different over there. I mean, Tim Tams have only just come to the UK maybe in the last maybe
Mm.
year or two.
Yeah.
And they have become really popular. But I think the thing with biscuits is depending on which region of the world you live in, there's so many different tastes.
Yeah.
Australian taste very different to the American taste. And obviously Australia is upside down to us. So eating biscuits, in the height of summer sometimes,
Yeah.
they've got to be careful with their chocolate and everything and the
Yeah.
preservatives inside. So
Well,
I just think it's a different taste to ours.
but it is. And actually, when I lived in Australia, I remember the absolute shock of biting into like a chocolate bar and being like, what is that? It tastes almost
Yeah.
like slightly plasticky.
Yeah.
And it is because it's designed to not melt in the shops.
Oh.
Which,
Absolutely.
but if you don't know otherwise,
Yeah.
that's it. That's fine.
Yeah.
But as a British person, I was like, my taste buds may never recover. I'm going to need 3 to 4 weeks of bland food. Um, I love, by the way, the biscuit expert we have here. That was like such an
Yes.
expert answer. I'm obsessed with that. So, podcast listeners who I'm sure all of you know, Rian, but just in case they haven't encountered you, they obviously now know you're a biscuit expert. But could you give us a little potted intro, your sewing, how you got started?
Sure. Yeah. So I obviously have my own channel on YouTube and an Instagram page and things like that. But I've been sewing maybe for, well, around, I would say 13 years now. And the reason I can kind of say that with conviction is because my eldest son is 13. And I did the very classic thing that I had a baby and had no spare time and decided I wanted a new hobby, like you do. I think, having a baby, I was a bit like, oh, right, is this it now? Is this what I do? And I did the very cliche thing and started watching the sewing bee and absolutely fell in love with it. And I remember one day saying to my husband, I think I'm going to learn how to sew. I nearly spat his coffee out. And I was like, what? And he went, well, I just didn't expect you to say that. So I remember Googling that night. I got really excited really quickly. And I Googled that night, sewing classes near me. And I managed to find a beginner's sewing class. It was about half an hour drive away. So it was kind of over the other side of Leeds. And I signed up for it immediately. I didn't even have a sewing machine to my name. I'd never used one before, ever. But that was it. I was going to learn to sew. It was as simple as that, basically. So I remember going to work and saying to my friend, I'm signed up for sewing classes. And she was like, wow, I've got a sewing machine if you want to borrow it. I said, oh, yeah, can I? And she was like, yeah, of course, I'll bring it in. So the day I was going to my evening class, the first one of my beginners class, she brought me a sewing machine in. And it was a, it was a kid's sewing machine.
Oh.
No time to do anything about it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take this kid's sewing machine. So I mean, I'm so embarrassed now. I'm probably going red, but turning up to a beginner's sewing class with like a little pink kid's sewing machine. And I remember my teacher, my tutor, Jess, at the time, just looking at me like, we've got one here. Like, oh dear.
Oh,
Oh no. And anyway, so she was like, that's fine. You can start off with that and see how you feel. So I got it all set out and everybody was getting their machines out. And then she was like, right, okay, so I'm going to teach you how to thread it and blah, blah, blah. So she started teaching how to thread the machine. And I was kind of like, please, miss me. I need to speak to you. And she came over, she went, what's the matter? I said, my machine doesn't work. It's not switching on. And she said, where's the power cord?
Oh no.
And I said, what do you mean? She went, we have to plug it in.
Oh no.
No. So my
Oh
friend had
God.
given me not only a kid's sewing machine, but one without a cord as well, power cord. So I was sat there like a complete numpty with a pink kid's sewing machine and yeah, no plug. So
God.
that was an eventful first impression for my sewing teacher. And she had to run off and get me a sewing machine for me to practice on. So it didn't start well. That's
But
all I'm
it's
going to
only
say.
up there,
Yeah.
up from
It
there,
couldn't get
surely.
any worse, I don't think, could it, at that point? I
Oh.
remember vividly because the first thing I ever did sew was a drawstring bag. Probably all been there, haven't we? And I remember that feeling when I'd finished that drawstring bag of invincibility. Like I could not believe that I had made something with my bare hands. It was like, I don't know what I expected. I just ran into it all. And then I'd made this drawstring bag and I was like, this is just incredible. And I think I joined thinking, oh, I'm just going to make accessories, that type of thing. That's all I'm going to do. Some bunting and maybe a bag and that type of thing. And then after that first course, I thought, do you know what? I'm going to do another one. And she was doing I remember it vividly, a button backed top, stretch top, which sounds random now. And I just signed up for it because I loved it so much. And after that 6 weeks, I'd made a garment and that was it. That was it.
You got the bug.
That was it. I went and bought a sewing machine and I've never looked back. And that was, 13 years ago now. When I think about it, that's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. I love people's, to be fair, I love hearing people's actual origin story because I think we have a habit on Instagram and YouTube of sometimes assuming people learn the same way. And
Yeah.
we all have like totally different experiences. And some people learn like very early, or like Mary, we've had on the podcast, obviously.
Yeah.
Her journey to sewing's been so long, but so much of it comes from like a very formal setting and it's been
Yeah.
relaxing, and some people go to classes, and yeah, it's just thank you so much for sharing that with us as well and for being so open and honest. It really goes with the
I
vibe
think
of the podcast.
it was a lovely experience. And actually there was 8 of us in the class and we all became quite close friends. And then we decided that every time we'd finished one of the courses, we were all going to sign on to the next one. So we became kind of the Wednesday sewing gang. Well,
Oh,
we were
nice.
nicknamed Wing It Wednesdays. couldn't think why, but it was really lovely. We all kind of connected with each other and we would do things socially. And yeah, we used to go every Wednesday. And even if we weren't really learning something, we'd all take a project and do it. But I was definitely, I think my teacher, Jess, was fabulous. And I remember a lot of what she taught me in the very early days. But I was quite a slow sewer. So when we were doing certain steps, I would be constantly fighting to kind of catch up with everybody and a bit frantic. And I would sew the top of my trousers together by accident, that sort of random
Yeah.
thing, and not be able to work out what I'd done because I was trying to do it so quickly. But yeah, then it kind of became a little bit more casual because we'd take our own projects and we all became a really lovely kind of gang. And then lockdown happened and I didn't sew anywhere. I didn't sew at home at all other than every Wednesday because that was kind of, to me, the only time I had. But then I was furloughed for a little while and my husband kind of said, right, let's get the spare room set up as a sewing room and crack on. And I did. Um, and I think I learned probably more at that point, kind of stepping out and doing it myself rather than
Yeah.
having some, like my safety
Mm.
blanket there because I had to kind of do it. So yeah, I've got a lot to thank lockdown for in that regard, really, because I don't think I'd be doing what I'm doing now if I'd not had the time to kind of explore it more.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I
I
think
love
that's nice
that.
that sort of like learning once you got started, sort of learning in privacy and like, not feeling you've got to
Yeah,
rush to keep up and things. It's good, I think, that having like classes, but there is that doing it bit on your own as well, isn't there? I think that
that's
balance
when
of
you
the two.
learn, I think, and having the
Yeah.
confidence in your own abilities rather than automatically relying on somebody that's
Mm.
there.
Yeah.
Because I think we can have a tendency to do that, can't we? We've got a tendency to kind of ask the question rather than just have a go
Mm.
yourself. So I definitely learned an awful lot when I was doing it myself. And then I remember like chatting to my friends at work and saying, "Oh, I've keep watching all these haul videos." It wasn't anything to do with sewing at the time,
Mm.
and they were like, "Oh, you ought to start doing it yourself." And I did some shopping one day, and then I recorded a little video just for those two, really taking the mickey.
Yeah.
And they were like, "You're really good at this. You ought to try try doing something like this."
So when was
And so I
that?
thought, "Do you know what? That was, oh gosh, how long have I been doing it for now? It was
Yeah.
around lockdown time,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
maybe about
'Cause
five,
I
6
think I
years
It's
maybe?
6 years
remember
now. So I just
yeah, I think
Yeah,
I remember Ruan's channel starting.
yeah,
Because I
yeah,
remember because it's back in that weird era of, like, everyone I think for a lot of people like me, didn't realise there was a sewing community, like, we were on
same.
Instagram personally, and it was a
Yes.
Mm.
friend of mine shared, like, it was like a sewing pattern, and I saw she had loads of comments from people with, like, sewing usernames. I was like, "Oh, hold on. Are there other people who do this? This is exciting." And it was that real era of it just grew so much, didn't it, in that time as we all figured out sewing from home?
Well,
Yeah,
I
and I
missed
think
out
we
on that, but
Yeah, you did.
yeah, I was just gonna say, I think, for some of the population, it was the complete opposite way round, working every hour God send and everything, whereas for some of us, we were very lucky and
Mm.
privileged to have the opportunity to be able to
Yeah.
spend more time, weren't we? And I think, I was very lucky because people were looking for something to do,
Mm.
at that time. People were sat at home and looking for joy, really. So I think I
Yeah.
was quite lucky when I started my channel because, there was such a big audience for it. There wasn't as many vloggers maybe then either. And, there was quite a big audience at that time because that's people were searching for things.
Mm.
I certainly was. That's how I found people was by, looking on YouTube because I had the time to kind of do it. So yeah, I mean, I just thought I'd dip my toe in the water and see what happened and
And
never
here
It's
you
gone
gone
are.
back.
very, very well, yeah.
Yeah. I'm still
And I
surprised
love it.
someone like this morning hasn't snapped you up, honestly, Ruan.
Oh, no. The thing is, I'm actually a potty mouth in real life as well, so I have to
Yeah.
be really, really I
Tell
have
me
to be
about it.
oh, I
She
have to be
This
so
one
beeps
is as
me.
careful.
well.
It's
She beeps me.
I've got so much better at stopping myself that
Uh,
sometimes the silences are as good as the word, you know? It's sort
Do you
yeah.
of
know do you know how I do it? I have to pretend that my late granddad is sat in front of me because I would never swear in front of him. So I'm like,
oh,
if I
Yeah.
channel him here, I won't swear. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
See,
have to be
I've
I
a
quite
could click
careful.
a button, but it's just annoying if I have to click that button. And it's not I found out you
I
can swear on YouTube. YouTube won't stop you if you swear. They will accept it
Yeah,
now. So,
yeah,
yeah,
um,
well, there's a difference between swearing and obscenity, and I think that's a
yeah.
very
yeah.
important distinction, because YouTube has realised that for some people, particularly as a Scottish woman, it's vernacular. You know, it's
And a Yorkshire bird. Yeah,
yeah,
I hear
exactly.
you.
Yeah.
It's a level of speech that you're like, I'm not being rude. It's just it's like other people say and I say this.
And it's quite
Um,
funny.
Yeah. I've spent my
but
entire career not being able to, though, even when a child dropped a massive
No,
stone on
Sam.
my foot, So it's just like
yeah.
Bless you.
But that's how I stopped myself at teaching, is because I used to work kids events and I used to work kids Christmas events and do stuff in kids hospitals and everything. And that's an actual setting because you're like, I can't.
Yeah.
I absolutely cannot. But that's the only time. And then you have the, sugar. And it's the real as you remember.
Yeah.
But like, it is something I think doing this podcast, I think I've got better.
You have.
I'm very concerned about the live episode, but that will be fine. We will. There's 2 people who've commented it being like, Sam gonna have an air horn beep you out. I don't know, maybe.
Love that idea.
Yeah, me too. We should pursue it. Now, very, very quickly, because Sam has got a huge number of things to tell us, as we are discussing the live episode, I would like to remind you that you can get £2 off your ticket should you wish to come to our live episode, which is when, Sam?
20th of March, which is the Friday.
Yes, at 11 a.m. on the Stitch stage. So if you use code SWNITBT, so that's So What's New in the Biscuit Tin, but our initials, you can get £2 off your ticket and you can come and see us and say hello. I know some people are like, oh my God, come say hi, and they don't really mean it. We absolutely do. Please come and accost us.
I don't want
I'm
to be talking to
so gutted I'm going to miss that.
Yeah.
Well,
I can talk to
we're
Jess whenever I
hoping.
want on my own. I need people there.
Yeah, very only occasionally do we record our conversations.
Yes.
But no, we do want to be accosted. Come and see us. We are gutted. Ruan was potentially going to be joining us, but hopefully we will still see you on the Friday or the Saturday at the festival, which we would love. But we know it's challenging with trains. We know obviously it's the Friday, but if it goes well, they might give us an even better slot in the future. So if you can make it, please do. And more on that coming soon as well.
Yeah.
I know, it's terrifying.
Right.
Now, Sam, I don't know what you have, but I know there's a lot of it. So can you tell us what's happening?
So, last episode, which hopefully lovely listeners you have listened to, which was, got me going because of the person's response to zero waste patterns, which I'm still not over. I'm not sure I'll ever get over it.
No, likewise.
But I thought I would just ask our listeners on Instagram about zero waste patterns. So the first thing I did was ask, has anyone actually sewn with them? Because obviously they had it on the sewing bee last year, Fold Line, and there's a book called by Bridget Helmerson, I think the book is.
Yeah.
And so I did ask, and we had a lot of votes, but the majority were like no. And I did put the option up for planning to. A very small
No one is planning to.
Really small amount said yes, an even smaller amount said planning to, and a huge amount of people, 75%, said no.
Wow.
So it really does divide the sewing community, this one. But then I thought I'd take a risk and ask people's thoughts on zero waste patterns.
Okay.
It ranged from people who were like sort of curious and sort of interested in the ethos of like not having any fabric waste. And obviously we recognised in episode 3 that zero waste can mean not necessarily that you're doing better for the environment. It might just mean you don't have scraps left over. Because sometimes, and I've seen, Ruan, your video with all the scraps that went in the loft that you filled that booth with.
Damn.
I've seen that video. So that whole concept of not necessarily like not like wasting fabric, but it's actually what do I do with these scraps, and that it means there's no scraps. So some people were kind of quite like into the ethos of that, but the word shapeless and boxy kept coming up. And we talked about belts in episode 3.
Yeah. Like it was like the woman who originally commented had forgotten belts exist. She's like, I like to nipped in waist. It's like you can have your own belts.
Yeah.
Like we're not taking them away. But yes, so, the idea of boxy is still very much there, isn't it, in the comments?
Really, very much there. And still very much this concept of, well, it's not zero waste if I make it and I don't like it and I don't wear it coming up
but
as
that's
well.
True.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah. Shapeless, swamped came up as well. Someone did say that they thought the bog coat was very clever. Now, I've watched multiple Instagram reels. I can't think who it is that does it. It's really interesting the way she folds the pieces to create this coat. I'll have to look up at the end of the episode to say who it is. But Yeah, I can't read them all out because someone's even used a word that begins with F that upsets me.
Ah. No, we should say that because that sounds like people are swearing at us. Sam doesn't like the flattering word.
It's
Yes,
not just
Yeah,
me, by the
yeah.
way,
That's
but
a bit.
yeah,
That's a bit too ambiguous. We've got to maybe the
yeah.
FL word. Um,
And people just worrying that is it greenwashing? I would say there's way bigger greenwashing worries to concern ourselves with. I mean, H&M this week coming up with saying that they're using recycled denim.
oh no, Primark.
People,
Primark. That's weird.
yeah, and actually it turns out 75% of what it is raw, brand new denim, and it's only
Yeah.
25% that's been almost like mashed down and then remade. It's not even taking the existing denim and using it. So yeah, there's bigger greenwashing I think to worry
Yeah.
about. But yeah,
There
it,
is. But I think the point still stands that if it's going to make you use more fabric than you were going to, and you're getting something you're not going to wear, it's not waste free. You've
no.
just made a shapeless thing you don't want to wear.
Uh,
So I don't know. I don't
somebody
know.
used the phrase potato sack.
Diving right in there. Okay.
Yeah. So
no
Oh
holds
dear.
barred.
yeah, I mean, Ruana, have you ever made a zero waste pattern?
I haven't actually, and I talked about it on a recent video because I was on one of my videos as like a. I always when I'm trying to look at pattern suggestions, I normally try to at least incorporate one free one so that it's
Yeah.
accessible to
Yeah.
anybody. We've all been there sometimes when we've looked at the price of a pattern and been like, oof, ouch.
Mm. Yeah.
So I do try to, where I can anyway, include like a free pattern. And I did talk about zero waste on a recent vlog because it is something I would like to have a look at. But I think I have very similar views, and a lot of my followers and subscribers were saying exactly the same sort of feedback that you've just kind of read out, Sam, that people see them as large pieces of clothing because they are
Mm.
using up all of the fabric. Now I think as people in the sewing community, I think we all have that guilt when we have scraps. It's something that
Mm.
overwhelms me sometimes, and then when I have to sit back and put it into perspective that when you look at a clothes factory and the amount of waste that's coming out of there, the waste from one garment that I've made is not going to make that much difference.
Yeah.
However, there's also a responsibility that lies behind it, isn't there? And there's only so many closet core puffs that I can make and stuff full of my of my scraps. My closet core puff is downstairs in my living room and I can't move it. It's that heavy. I have to get my husband to shift it and
Oh
roll
my
it around the living
god.
room because it's so heavy, which is good because it means I've put a lot of those scraps that gave him trauma in the loft into them. But I think we all have that kind of, it's almost like a guilt when we have any leftover fabric, don't we? There's no better feeling than when you've cut a pattern out and you have a handful in your
Yeah.
hand and that is it. And I did something only last night. I was cutting a couple of makeup bags out, and I used all fabric that I'd got in my stash, all zips, everything was from my stash. And at the end of it, I literally had less than a
Mm.
handful of scraps, and I felt like I'd won. I don't know what I'd won, but I'd won something in my
Yeah.
mind that had been really successful. But like people say, if you're going to then make something that's zero waste and not like it because you prefer things that are form fitted and you like to accentuate certain parts of your body, then it is a bit of a waste, isn't it? Because you're not
Yeah.
actually going to get the wear out of that garment. And I'm very much about wearability at the moment. I've made
Yeah.
plenty of garments that have just sat in my wardrobe, and I'm like, well, that is scrap fabric because I'm not wearing it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a difficult balance, and I think we'll always have that thing in our mind where there's the devil on one side and the little angel on the other telling you one thing. It can be a bit of a battle, I think, sometimes as
Mm.
sewers,
I
sewists, whatever we like to call ourselves.
I've looked it up. The bog coat is by the Sew, both spelled SEW.
Can have a look at them.
And I have to say, I do agree with you, Anne, that I do worry about all aspects of it, including the fact that my scrap pile, I could fall under it like an avalanche and be there a week later. Like,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
um, but I think looking at like the patterns, the coat seems like the there's lots of nice boxy coat, and I do feel like that's kind of a good entry one. It does make me want to like really go down a deep hole. I mean, I've done the trouser pursuit and things. I feel like I need to do this next, really. So
Mm. But
I
then,
actually
yeah,
think doing that would be good for viewers as
mm,
well, because I think we've all probably got that little niggle, haven't we, of
yeah,
wanting to try it. I think, if you were to experiment with zero waste, whilst it may not be successful, it may be,
mm,
I think it would be really good from an educational point of view for
mm.
other people as well that have got the
yeah.
same kind of thoughts that we have, maybe.
Yeah, and that not having to have a pattern printed out. I mean, I've got shelves full of them
Mm.
now. I was going through them today because I've
Oh,
lost one print out.
yeah, been there.
Just like so, yeah. Jess, did you want to say anything else? Obviously, now we've had a
No, I think I'm just thinking about it because I kind of I don't know, I was kind of reflecting on what Rianne was saying really about um that kind of guilt we have, particularly when there's a lot of waste. And I think the more fitted a pattern is, generally, often the
Mhm.
more waste you get. And I find it a lot. I've got whole bits of satin
mm,
where I've had to cut a bias skirt out of them, which you have to do.
Yeah,
There's no other way
mm,
of doing it. It's on the
yeah.
bias, but you do end up with huge odd curves and swathes of fabric left, and it's sort of they stay in the drawer because I do use them for pockets, and I'll use them for. I've actually started doing a lot more wearable toiles with that kind of fabric, but sometimes it's the most expensive fabric you get. And you
mm,
have the worst scraps from it, and the guilt from that can be quite challenging,
Yeah.
particularly when you're literally looking at your money. I
Yes.
get that sometimes, and I'm like, "I spent this amount on this, and none of this is usable, and I don't necessarily wanna put it in scraps." But then on the topic of the closet called poof, I wanna ask you about this. I was talking about I did a video at Christmas where I fully cleared out my wardrobe, and as part of that, I got rid of a load of me mades that had shrunk, that were just really badly made, didn't fit anymore, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna cut them up and put them in a closet called poof." And then, like, 3 people commented on a video and all said, "Oh, well, you can't put those in a scrap because, like, in a poof, because 'cause they'll mold because of the type of fabric they are." And
Really?
I was like, "Is that true? I don't know
Well,
if
if
that's
they're in your
true."
wardrobe, then why would they
yeah.
be any
They're not
different?
moulding in
I
the
don't know.
wardrobe, are they?
Yeah, you know when you just have to say something out loud? Because 'Cause I'm sat going, "Ah, can't be
No.
true, can it?"
I mean, if
Think of
you
a
took it
reason
straight off your
why.
sweaty body and put it in there,
Yeah,
but hanging in the
Ew.
wardrobe.
yeah,
I
but I
think
was
the
like,
biggest problem is,
"It's
Ruana,
surely
isn't it?
not."
It's so heavy. If you fill it entirely
It's
with
so
scraps, it's
heavy.
obscene, isn't it? Yeah, you have
I
to
mean,
put
I
those in
love it.
frame, I
I
think.
absolutely love it. And I loved making it as well. And it's a free
Yeah.
pattern. It's great. And you can use your scraps to make it. So it's
Mm.
brilliant. And I,
Mm.
I know, and it looks lovely in my living room. But I don't think I'd be able to make one and give it to someone because I won't be able to transport it.
Oh god,
No
yeah.
chance.
I mean, yeah, you almost wanna give it to another sewist and go, "Right, you fill it, here's the
Yeah.
Yeah.
outside."
Yeah.
Um,
Here you go. Kind of
but
defeats the
no.
object, but yeah.
But I think scrap guilt is something people will feel, and people have
Mm,
Yeah.
spoken to us about where they go, "I've got this bags and bags full of it in the house."
yeah.
But then also there is that side effect of you it is also your hobby, and
Exactly
there are
that.
going to be mistakes and
Yeah.
there are going to be scraps, and we have to accept that as an inevitability of the learning
Mhm.
process as well.
And we could also be buying lots of stuff from Sheen,
Yeah,
whatever you call it,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
and
yeah.
it would be dreadful polyester products that have been thrown
Mhm.
together that are never gonna disintegrate. We could be
Yeah.
doing lots of different things. And,
Yeah.
most of us aren't making, I don't know, 20 garments a week, are we?
No.
We don't have the time. I would love to, but
Yeah,
we don't have the
Who has
time
the
a lot of the
time?
time, do we? So,
Yeah.
and I just think if you've already bought the fabric and it's sat in your stash anyway,
yeah.
it's no different than being made up into a garment and having some scrap fabric at
Yeah.
the end of the day, is it? But it is something that bothers me all the time. And sometimes I feel like I'm being a bit irrational about it. But I am quite aware of my scraps. And I think sometimes because I buy or I have done in the past, bought a lot of fabric because I like the look of it. And then I've thought, oh well, I'll buy 3 meters of that. And then I've made a blouse that's 2.2 meters and I can't get anything out of the rest.
Yeah.
That's when I'm like, oof, I need to buy more intentionally, knowing exactly what I'm going to make. So I do that a lot more
Yeah.
now, where I'm like, I know exactly what I'm going to make with that fabric. Because I think if you buy intentionally, your scraps are going to be less anyway, aren't they? As a
Well,
result of
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I think so. However, I am going to, and I'm going to name check the pattern because I did a reel about it, so it's not a secret. I would also say it would be really nice if pattern companies could help us out here by making realistic fabric requirements. because it was a true bias pattern. I want to say a true bias Bryn. It said I needed, don't quote me, it was like 2.5 meters, and I used a meter. I had a meter and a half left over. And I was literally laying out the pieces of all sizes, and I still couldn't figure out how you'd need 2.5 meters for it. Because they're all the same length. Like the height is the same.
Yeah, I think that's sometimes maybe when they put too many sizes together as well and give you one like fabric estimation. And I know sometimes when I'm looking at a chart and I'm like, oh wow, there's loads of different figures on here. But I'd rather do that and know what I need to get. 'Cause I think is it Tilly and the Buttons that does that quite a lot as well. But I suppose they're taking into consideration potentially something with a nap as well.
Yeah.
You know, with a pattern or something that's directional or, you know, that type of thing as well, aren't they? But they also, I think, probably add a little bit extra in for shrinkage and potentially because they don't want someone to buy 2 meters and then it's 2.1 when they come to do it.
No,
the other way around.
Honestly, if I was doing it, I'd be rounding up because I'd hate someone to not buy enough.
I round down, but that could just be because I'm cheap. So I round down and I'm like, I will make this work. So help me God. I don't care if the pockets don't match.
I mean, I'd rotate the fabric round to cut it the other way because I've got short legs and cut it across the width to get more out.
Yes.
The shirt I made the other week, I realised as I was cutting it out, and to be fair, had I been more awake, this wouldn't have been a problem. One of the collars was meant to be cut on the bias and the other one was meant to be cut on the cross grain. No. One of them was cut on the bias and the other one was cut on the straight grain, and it's fine.
Yeah,
because that's what I had left.
Yeah, I mean, my waistbands that I do the other way, not on the grain, because I'm just like, I haven't got enough fabric left. You know, and I will.
I've done it plenty of times. Yeah, I'm a lot more confident in doing that now. I think when I first started, I would have never have done anything like that. It would have felt like I was breaking the rules. But now I'm kind of like, I've done it plenty of times and I've never had an issue with it. So it's like if you're making some bias binding and it's not exactly on the diagonal that it needs to be. I'm like, oh, it'd be right. I'll make it work. I'll make it work.
It's got enough of a stretch in it now.
It's fine. I'll just pull it a bit more when I'm sewing it on.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I've done something really wrong, I interface it. I'm like, there we go. It's not going to move now.
That'll do.
Yeah.
That's why we were called Wing It Wednesdays when we were doing our classes.
I'd much rather go to that kind of class, though, to be clear. I haven't been to many classes in my life. I've done a lot of my sewing on my own. And one of the things I find stressful when you go to a class, some classes are fantastic.
Yeah.
And some classes I've been to, like, you have to do it like this. I'm like, I've already done it and I've done it like that.
Yeah.
And we are where we are because that's how I put a sleeve in. So
100%.
I don't know what my other half was watching earlier, but someone had the line, well, they're not really rules, are they? I just view them as guidelines. And I said, that's my entire life philosophy. It's like,
yes. I love that. I mean, to be fair, there's so few things that can't be undone in sewing as well.
Yeah.
As long as you've cut it out vaguely all right, you'll be fine.
I've never, ever measured the grain line to the selvage.
No.
Oh, God,
ever.
no. I've got things to do. I've got paint to watch dry before I'm doing that.
Yeah, I'll eyeball it. Never had an issue with it. So I'm like, I've managed it for 13 years. I'll be all right.
I did a set of darts at the Southern Social. I did not measure a single thing. I did it with my fingers and I was like, that looks fine.
Well, you can't tell by eye. No one else is going to notice, are they?
Yeah. Well, they look proportional.
I'm sure there's some patterns where it's probably quite imperative that you do that. But for the stuff that I'm sewing, I'm like, no, it'd be fine.
Yeah.
The only thing I measured the living daylights out of was my wedding dress, and that's because I drafted it though. So I was like, I have to do this, and I was like, but I think the whole mindset shift was you're toiling, you're designing, you have to do this properly, but everything else, I was like, it'll be fine.
Everything else, you were like, I'm going to rebel against this.
Yeah. Oh, well, do you know what? I haven't revealed this already. I can now. I didn't want to have to stitch down the entire facing on my bridesmaids dresses because they were the wrap dresses the whole way round. Yeah. So I just did it with Wonder Web. And they're still stuck together to this day. So
I don't know why that's a swear word in the sewing community.
No.
I mean, that's how my mum used to do my hems for years.
That's how I did my hems last night because I wanted to check them before I sewed it.
And quilters used Wonder Tape and glue all the time. So I don't know.
Although I had a quilting woman message me and go, I'm not a dressmaker. And I'm like, all right, that's okay. Because she was like, I think, dressmakers think quilting's really easy, but I'm a quilter, not a dressmaker. And I was like, oh, sweetheart, it's okay. What happened? What
Well,
happened
you're
when you tried
sewing a bit of
dressmaking?
fabric and are you having fun? That's all that
Yeah.
matters.
Oh,
And
God, I know.
interestingly, I had a lady comment on my YouTube because I was saying I think I'm a dressmaker or sewist that quilt, and she went, "No, you are a quilter. Don't play yourself down." So,
Ah, yes.
but
You're like, I'll
Maybe.
take
yeah,
that.
I
yeah.
think quilting's like a loose confederation of warring tribes. I don't think people agree in the quilting world, it seems. There's like
Well, if
subsections of
you
people who
watch
quilt a certain way.
if you watch Kate of the Last Homely House, she says, "I don't care about the quilting police. They know where I live and they can come and take me away."
That's a.
I
She
love
should quilt
her.
that on something.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, I think at this point, we'll just reiterate what today's episode is. We've already gone deep into it, so it's not a
Yeah.
problem.
yeah.
We are talking about the raw, honest truth of what we wish we'd known when we were beginner sewists. And actually, we're already well into that, but I just thought I would mention it, and that was today's episode.
Yeah, I was
love it
going to
when
do the
it happens
same,
like
but
this.
Bring me back into the room.
no,
Yeah, no, I love
we're
it.
so beautifully on topic. It's fine.
Yes.
This is so much better than how we would normally be. But actually, maybe now's the time to underline some of those. I think
Yeah.
we've kind of forayed over lots of the insights. But yeah, maybe we can try and sum up some of the key stuff. So I think, Ruan, a lot of what you're saying from your start in those kind of workshop spaces and doing classes is that kind of like the importance of like meeting other people maybe who do what you do.
I think it is for me. And I think, I enjoy sewing independently as much as I enjoy sewing in a group. Now, obviously, I've done loads of sewing socials, and my problem is I'm not very good at concentrating on more than one thing at once. So when I go to a sewing social, I will make something quite simple or that I've made before because I like to talk and I'm too interested in what everybody else is doing and I can't concentrate. And I also need to say the words of the instructions out loud constantly. And it's quite funny because Tamlin's the same and we'll be in a sewing social and she's on one side and I'm on the other and we're both like reading the instructions and talking it out to ourselves. And it always makes me chuckle. Because then I've got Rachel at the side of me who's already made a garment by the time I've read like the first page of my instructions out. So I do love being at home sometimes and sewing on my own because I love that fact that I can just concentrate and do what I need to do and go over something 100 times if I want to. But
Yeah.
I think the social side of sewing has been really important for me. In particular, because that's the bit that I enjoy is talking about sewing just as much as probably sewing, and getting inspiration and meeting other people that are like-minded. And I think the community is a lovely place to be, and having all those connections has been brilliant for me. And I would suggest anybody who's kind of starting up to potentially look at that because I wish I'd had more of that at the beginning, really. Yes, I had like the sewing gang that I used to meet, but only once on a Wednesday. Whereas now I can reach out to a number of people and go, "Well, I'm really struggling with this. Please help me." Or
Yeah.
go on Instagram and find someone who's made that garment that I may never have spoken to before and DM them and say, "What did you think? Have I missed something here?" So, for example, the other day I was making something and to me, there looked like there was a whole page of instructions missing. So I went onto Instagram. I found someone who I have interacted with before, but is in Australia, the other side of the world. And I messaged her and said, "Right, am I going crazy? Please, can you tell me, is there a whole page of these instructions missing?" And she came back and went, "It's all right, you're not crazy." I was like, "Oh, yeah." I was literally doing my own head in though, sat there going, have I misprinted it? What is going on here? But just reaching out
Yeah.
and just having a chat with someone online, can help you. And it's the same when you're a beginner, isn't it? You can reach out, ask questions, and get the answers pretty quickly rather than waiting maybe a week until you're next with somebody that can help you type of thing. So yeah, for me, the social
Yeah.
side of it's majority of what I do.
I agree in that the social side means you've got like those people to like ask, and you've got people to
Yeah.
like get excited for you as well. Like when
Yeah.
like I pranced into the living room and my other half's like, "Oh, she's made another pair of trousers," and sort of lifts one eye up to look at me. But
Yeah.
actually, if you go twirling into like the summer social or put it on like wherever, and you go, "I made
Yeah.
trousers," everyone's like, "Yay!" You know? And they appreciate that
Celebrate.
actually you did
Yeah.
a full seat adjustment and it worked. And I think definitely that part, but I do agree with you that whole the sewing together is making sure that you find a way to do it that works for you where you're comfortable because as you say, around knowing actually I can't do a hard thing because I'm gonna have lots of chatting time.
Mm.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
actually, if I do this, I'll be worrying about actually, am I doing it right or am I not sewing fast enough? And actually
Yeah.
just embracing the experience rather than putting extra pressure on. Because I think that's
100%,
the
yeah.
worry sometimes. Some people do think, I've had people ask about coming to the summer social, but am I good enough to come? And I'm like, we don't have like a
Yeah.
qualification. You know,
Yeah,
you
we're
want
not
to
all
come,
working
that's
on the
enough.
same thing either. Like, just
Yeah,
bring your own
Mm,
thing. Like, it's
yeah.
fine.
yeah, yeah.
But I
Yeah, and
do think that also making it, you're right, Sam. I think both of you are right that kind of make it work for you because, like, I think we're all interestingly on different points of the spectrum because
Mhm.
largely I don't like sewing around other people.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
I'm going, I go very occasionally and then it's kind of fun because I don't do it often. And you're
yeah,
like, oh, I get to chat to these people and I'm going to take something I don't have to think about and like it's fine. But I don't like doing difficult sewing around people because I need to
yeah,
concentrate.
yeah.
And also because I want TV on and I want shorts and a hoodie and a glass of wine and one sock and I
Oh,
need to be like in my
yes.
space, surrounded by my stuff and my machines and all my like. I hate having to pack for a social because I'm like, but what if I need this set of buttons from like 3 years ago? Um, but when you're in your own space, I think if you're doing those really creative things as well, I know because I've had messages from people. There are people who get self conscious taking
Mm.
different
Yeah,
projects to socials as
yeah,
well. But I think also remember a rule in life, which is no one's looking you as
yeah.
much as you are looking at you. So do take whatever you want to a
And I
social.
always take multiple projects because then if I get to a point in one where actually I need to just sit and think about it for a bit and not necessarily
yes.
finish it, then I can go on something else. Or I take some instructions to read or something else because I know that my mood might change while I'm there
Yeah.
and
I
I don't
always
want to
take
keep
loads of
going.
projects thinking
Yeah.
I'm gonna make all of them, and it's the most unrealistic thing, and I have not learned once from my previous experiences. I do the same thing every time, and I'm like, I haven't even made one garment by the
Yeah.
end of it all, you know?
But
And I'm
that's
like,
because
"What?
you're an optimist, clearly.
Why?
Yeah.
It's the
Know
dream, you know.
yourself."
I mean, honestly, Mary one
Maybe
time didn't even bring her machine. She just knew she was going to chat. It's like,
My
she
kinda
just
girl.
roams, yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
did
I
the whole
like the
room, you know?
idea well, I like the idea of Ruan bringing all her projects secretly hoping someone else might sew them up and
Yeah.
then, you know, she
True
can go home with
story.
them all done, yeah.
Rachel, I'll be like, "Rachel, can you have all these whipped up by the end of today, please, if you don't mind?"
Yeah. I
Is
mean,
Rachel a speedy sewist?
I nearly took someone's jumper off them and did it on my overlocker the other time because she was getting so stressed with her overlock. I was just
Oh,
give it to me, you know. She won't mind me saying like she was having a good laugh about it.
Oh my goodness. It is, but it is important. I think as well, I'd like to focus for a second on the kind of stuff that maybe I when you're a beginner, I think sometimes we do things wrong or we do things differently. And I think sometimes when we're new, like now we all laugh it off, right? And we all go, ah, it's fine. But I guess I want to know, Ruan, but also obviously Sam, but I can ask Sam this anytime, how you kind of move past those when you're a beginner and like how you're navigating like those feelings of like, oh, I should have done this. Did you feel those when you were a beginner?
I think the thing for me is when you're a beginner and you're first getting into any hobby probably, you become so excited by it that you are scattergunning.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was going to fabric shops, buying fabric, buying patterns, and not really understanding what I
Mm.
was doing. So I think, you know, if I was to give advice to someone maybe that was starting out, I would say just go slow. Go really slow because when you go faster, it's when you make the mistakes and when you don't know what you're doing. And then you can feel overwhelmed by it and think, oh, do you know, I'm just rubbish at this. And that's not the case because, you know, I bought so many lengths of fabric that were just 1 meter. I mean, I'm not being funny, but, you know, I'm a UK size 16. I ain't never making anything out of a meter other than a t shirt if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
I just ended up spending loads of money on fabric that I wasn't going to use and also on fabric types that I had
Mm.
no idea what they were for or anything. So I think for me, I would just say go slow and do your research because when you've done your research and you go slow, you'll be a lot happier with the outcome, I think. But I think for me, as a sewist, when you're first starting out, you have to try and have the mentality of this is a journey. I am not going to
Yep.
be good at this to start off with. I
Yeah.
don't know anybody who's picked up a sewing machine and suddenly become, you know, eligible to go on the sewing bee, within a couple of weeks. It's just that's
Mm.
not how it happens. And it's the same with anything. You wouldn't expect to go and learn a degree and know it all in 2 weeks, or,
God, no. Yeah.
go play golf and be able to hit, a bogey straight away. You wouldn't be able to do it. So I think it's just giving yourself that grace to understand that to start off with, you're not going to be good.
Yeah.
Mm.
You're not.
No,
And
absolutely. And have
and
the
that
giggle when you're not as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we all do silly things. Like I remember
Oh,
Ellen the Stitches sewed her sleeve onto her neck,
yeah. Yeah.
which
I've
is
We've
done
all
that
still
been
one
so
of
many
there.
the
times.
funniest
Yeah.
videos I've ever seen, though. And I'm
Yeah.
obsessed with the
Brilliant.
fact she shared it.
Yeah.
Um,
I think the
but
thing
that's what
is,
we need.
it's about exploration, like you say, Rand, not
Yes.
production. And I think for me, I was doing that. Because I've like created things of all kinds throughout my whole life because it's just kind of who I am. And I used to like try and sew things when I had no idea what I was doing. And of course, they never turned out the way they wanted to because I didn't know what I was doing. But actually, one of the best things I ever did was these deep dives. And I know I'm now known for deep dives, but actually, if you go fully into trouser making and you go for it,
Yeah.
you will have the ones that don't work, but you'll get to a point. And I saw Rachel's post that went up
Yeah.
today where she was talking about how, she's now got a pair of jeans that fit her beautifully and knowing what to take out the rise, what to do at the back. And it's okay that you make toiles out of cheap bedding and
Yeah.
and things that you never wear because we'll never reach a point where we actually really have things we like if we don't go through that bit. And I think it's okay to buy 3 meters of cheap fabric when you start, and you
Yeah.
don't often see
Yeah.
that said a lot.
100%. Yeah. I think that's a major thing. Don't
Mm,
be buying the expensive fabric to start
no.
off with. But also understand that, it's not going to be great to start off with, but try to have patience, because I think when we first start, we can be quite impatient sometimes, can't
Mm,
we? We want to make things, we want to wear them immediately, but actually by doing things quickly and not understanding the process and how things work on your body means you're going to make garments that you're not happy with, which then
mm,
creates this whole, well, I'm not doing great and maybe this isn't for me.
Yeah.
Whereas if we slow down and we appreciate that it's going to take a little bit of time. We all go to the shops, don't we? To the retail shops. Well, we used to in the past. I mean, I don't really buy anything much anymore. The odd
no.
thing, and we tried loads of stuff on in one shop, and it'd be different to the other. Or I can't wear
Yeah.
that
Mm,
style because my body and my hips are bigger, and they won't fit in that. That's natural. So we need to appreciate that when we come to sew, we're going to find that type of thing to start off with, but then
Yeah.
we're going to start to get to know ourselves and our style and what pattern companies work for us and what don't. And the other thing I would say as a beginner sewist is start with an indie pattern.
yep,
Don't
definitely.
start with one of the big four. That's one of the biggest things for me is I looked at a big four pattern and just went, oh my God,
Yep, yeah.
what does that even mean? Someone's going to have
Yeah.
to translate it. Whereas if you work maybe with a very simple independent pattern company's, you know, pattern, you're going to feel much more confident because, I find that the instructions are so much better, that it's explained easier, the techniques are sometimes quite easy to start off with. And then that will build the confidence up. But I think sometimes we just grab a pattern, don't we? Because we've seen
Yeah.
the big four pattern and we're just going
Mm.
to have a go at it. We open it up and go, what does any of that mean?
And I
Yeah.
also think, Luann,
Definitely.
a lot of the independent pattern companies, you're able to find pictures, videos, or reviews
Yes.
that other people have made them. And that really helps
Mhm.
you because you're not starting cold
100%.
then. And I know that, like, when I go to make a pattern, I will go and look to see have other people found that they've needed to
Yes.
size up or size down, or because it just takes a little bit of the margin of error away. But also, most of
100%.
those, as Jess and I have said, most of these small, like, independent pattern companies will help you if you're stuck. If you contact them,
Yeah,
and
they
I had
will.
lovely Emma at my social the other week. She was making the Helen's Closet Lazo jumpsuit, and she was
Ah,
struggling a bit
yes.
on the front. She reached out and emailed Helen, and Helen came back to her with all these pictures and instructions on what to do.
How
Yeah.
And
lovely
you
is
won't get
that?
that. And that I
No.
would recommend
No.
not to buy from Etsy unless you're really sure it's a real designer,
Mm.
because a lot of
Yes.
these AI patterns are not even designed well. So that it will
I
make you
think if
think you're
you
a bad sewist.
yeah.
And you're not.
If you're looking at a pattern and it's £2.50, the likelihood
Yeah.
is it's not, you know,
Yeah.
gonna be not gonna be for you.
No.
I think so, but I also think when you're a beginner, it can be really hard to navigate this space when you don't know where
Absolutely.
to
Yeah.
look. So if
No.
you are a beginner listening, I would like to recommend websites like the Fold Line, where you can filter by difficulty and by
Mm.
indie or big four, because that's going to help you get a sense of, like, you might be a real beginner and really not know, have stumbled across the pod. You might even not know what we're meaning when we say big four. So for the avoidance of doubt, because I'm a big believer
Mhm.
in creating spaces for everyone. You don't have to have assumed knowledge here. So by big
Absolutely.
four, we mean Vogue, McCall's, Simplicity, Butterick.
Yeah.
They're
Which
all
at the
actually
moment,
owned by the same company
and you
and
can't buy
possibly
now
in
in the
liquidation.
UK. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But luckily there's so many floating around that I'm
Yes.
sure you'll find some.
Mm.
I started sewing with big fours when I was
Mm.
17 because my mum was a costume designer and indie patterns didn't exist.
Yep.
So for my
Yeah.
mum, but I had her to translate big four
Mm.
E's to me, where it was like, oh no,
Oh,
it's
yes.
assuming you know how to do this.
Mhm.
This is, and we talked about this in the episode with Mary. There's a standardized level of knowledge people used to have that we don't
And also
anymore.
you'd be sewing with other people around you who'd sewn all their lives
Exactly.
as well. So
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
weren't
So
And
like
you
you were
have
in
that
your
taught it
own
at
received knowledge.
room.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were
Yeah.
taught it at
Exactly.
school.
So also don't feel bad if you make up a big four and you're like, oh, what happened? It's okay. Like
Mm.
but it is part of the learning process. I would advocate, instead of trying to take also a really linear approach, because people will tell you, well, you
Mm.
can't do that until you've made a shirt and you mustn't do this. This is really
Mm.
difficult. I advocate learning sewing skills like collecting brownies badges.
Mhm.
Just pick them up. Just go, right, I've got my French seams badge. Right, I've got this. Like you don't need to do everything in order. You can
Yeah.
just pick up skills as you go. And like, was it last year, Sam, you had on your Make 9 doing a fly zip?
Yep, I had loads of skills on there. That was like I did a skills year. Yeah.
Which I love. Because
Yeah.
that's a nice way of thinking about it as well. And we can almost, in some ways, take the anxiety of choosing the correct level pattern for you
Mm.
out of it and go, I want to learn to do this. Let's find a pattern with it.
Yep.
Because also, can I bring this up, by the way? How do we feel about the phrase adventurous beginner on patterns?
I don't understand what that means.
No,
I don't know what you
neither
mean.
do
I've got my rucksack on and I'm off for my little walk.
Is it
What are you on about?
braver than the average beginner? What does it mean?
It feels to me, cynically, perhaps, it feels to me like it's intermediate, but they don't want to write
Yeah.
that in case people don't make it.
Yeah.
But I feel like sometimes adventurous or confident beginner can be highly misleading. And I don't know. I don't know where I sit on it.
Confident
Then
is clearer. It means
adventurous.
you're a beginner that's now a bit more confident. But adventurous, well, anyone can be adventurous. I don't
Yeah.
like. Yeah.
Because I don't like adventurous beginner and I don't like expert. Because there's always
Wow.
something to learn, and
Yeah.
sewing can be a humbling hobby if you let it.
I think it's really difficult because people will say, you know, what level do you think you're at? And I'm like, I have no idea.
No idea. Yeah.
No.
No.
I'm
Just beginner.
I think
Wild
we're all
West,
at the
that's where
level
I
where
am.
we've stopped thinking about it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that, I think, is a level in
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where, like, you can. We were talking about this the other week. If someone asks you what you are, I just say I sew my clothes.
Yeah.
Like, I was teaching a lecture this morning, me made outfit, which I'm really trying to do. And that's a cool thing to be like, I don't automatically now go when I'm getting dressed, I'm wearing my clothes, and you have that nice, like, oh, I made this. But it's not like it was when you were a beginner, right? When you're like, oh, I must find a way to wear that jumper, or, whereas it's now part of our wardrobes, it's part of our
Yes.
lives. And that's.
I remember when I
that's the
first started
transition.
sewing and people would say, you know, 80% of my wardrobe is me made. And I'd be like, I'm never going to get there. Never in a million years am I ever going to get there. And now I'm like, it's very rare that I don't wear me made at any
Yeah.
point, you know, and
Yeah.
that is such a lovely feeling because I remember thinking right at the beginning, I'm never going to get there. I
Mm.
can't imagine myself in that position where more of my clothes in my wardrobe are me made than they are ready to wear. And now I'm in that position, which just happens naturally, doesn't it? It progresses. I just think it's such a lovely place to be because you are so proud of there's nothing better, is there, than someone complimenting you on something that you've learned and spent time
Yeah.
studying and creating for then someone to compliment it. It's such a lovely thing.
Yeah, no, it
Yeah.
is. Now, I know Sam wants to finish up the episode with a dilemma, so I have a very quick thing to ask you both as a nice little palate cleanser, and I've written it on a post-it because I have been watching the Winter Olympics because I enjoy all types of Olympics. I'm not a team sport person really. I like to play, but not to watch. I don't know what's happening, but the Olympics I vaguely get. Largely, it's this person crossed a line and didn't fall over, and it's very comprehensible. And I was watching the snowboarding, which Team GB did very, very well in it. And I was introduced to a new colour, and I'd like to introduce you to it.
Oh, this
And the
sounds
colour
interesting.
was from the men's snowboarding. And the female snowboarding judge commentator, who I love, was like, yes, well, we call that men's salmon, which is pink for men who don't want to say they're wearing pink.
I've never had that before. What?
That is
Men's
hilarious.
salmon. That's what it's called if you buy it in the
Men's
shops.
salmon.
Men's salmon.
Salmon. So can we just take a minute for the fact that in the Victorian era, boys were dressed in pink?
Yes.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
wasn't till the 50s that the colours swapped over.
I love my boys in pink.
Mm.
Love it.
I mean, Adam has a lovely pink shirt, and I think, it's great for skin tone and stuff. It's so nice. But I
Men's
slightly
salmon.
lost my mind at that, so I wrote it
Men's
down, and I was like,
salmon.
I'm raising this on Monday.
That is classic.
I love it because you wouldn't be like, for women, it would just be salmon.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a gendered version.
I mean, honestly, I
believe-
don't spend a lot of time labelling a colour as salmon anyway. It's not like I don't know.
No,
It's very
it's
80s, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say it's very like Jilly Cooper era,
Yes,
frilly outfits.
if a male is going to wear pink, then they're really confident anyway. They're not going to care what it's called, are they? At the end of the day,
if you're snowboarding in the Olympics, why do you care?
Exactly. As long as you're not wearing all white and you get wet,
Yeah.
then you're fine. Just stick with the men's salmon for now.
Yeah, I had to bring that.
My littlest favourite colour is pink, and he's a boy, so we're cool with that in our household. My favourite colour is pink as well, and his favourite colour is pink. So whether you'd get my husband wearing it, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But me and my youngest, we're pink lovers, not men's salmon.
That. No,
don't tell him it's men's salmon.
Well, I want to see if there's a tonal difference. So anybody in the comments who's seen this in the wild, I don't know if this is like an active wear thing so that it doesn't say pink. You know, when there's a little label that says the colour. I don't know if it goes
I don't know,
there.
but I'm going to have to go Google the snowboarding team
looking
now.
this up now.
It was just, it came up in the commentary, and then the men kept bringing it up because they were like, this is hysterical. So yeah, I just thought, I wrote it down, and I was like, this is from the BBC commentary, and I was like, I've got to bring this to Sam and Ruana because I thought you'd enjoy it. Now, Sam, someone has written in for us, haven't they? So we've got a little question to finish off the ep with.
Yeah. And hopefully our listeners are getting the sense that we love this. We love people writing comments, responding, because we're talking about it a lot, which is good. So I asked if anyone had any sewing challenges, dilemmas. And so a lovely Instagram person whose Instagram starts dopamine dress, and I don't know what the rest of it is because it's
dopamine dressmaker. Yeah. She's very lovely.
Yeah. Said, I always struggle deciding what to sew next. I love Sam's YouTube on this, but it's ongoing. So I did do one about overwhelm last year. So struggles with what to sew next. I think each of us needs to try and give a couple of tips on how you deal with that personally, I think, because that's all we can do really is share how we've got over that. So who wants to go first? Jess or Ruana? Who's got a thought?
Mine. I don't mind going first. I think that's a very common thing for a lot of people, and I think that is as media etc. brings so much inspiration to us now. And I'm very similar. Sometimes I get the overwhelm where I want to make so much that I then can't concentrate. And we talk about it, don't we, all the time? The whole procrastination thing then comes in and you become unproductive. What I tend to do is when I have so much inspiration in my mind, I have to get it written down. That's the only way that works for me. So I will jot everything down. And then I will go through if I've got any events that are coming up or what the season is at that time, what the weather is like, etc. And then I will pick usually 3 things from this huge list sometimes that are my priority. And what I do then is I completely ignore the rest. I'm not even allowed to give it headspace
Mm.
because there's no point. Because I've picked my 3 that are my priority. I've picked the 3 that are gonna work for me short term. And then my little reward then is after I've made, for example, those 3 garments, I then go back to that list, which may then grow, but then I'm again only allowed to pick maybe 3 or 4 that are my priority out of that. When I do that, it's almost like I'm putting the rest of them into a little box and just putting them aside, not away completely, but just aside for now to give me the headspace
Mm.
to concentrate on what I want to sew that I'm going to get the most out of. That's the only way I can do it
Yeah.
because otherwise I'm thinking so much about different things that I can't actually take action,
Mm.
which is
Yeah.
ridiculous then, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy. That's
Jess?
how I tackle it anyway.
I think for me, I step away completely and I take an actual break. Because for me, that feeling of not knowing what to sew comes from forcing myself to do too much. And I'm quite a stubborn person. Even forcing myself to do something is not something I do very well at. Like it's a sort of an internal conflict. So I've actually just had a couple of weeks off sewing. I haven't really touched my sewing machine since I went to the Southern Social. Before that, I hadn't really touched my sewing machine for about 2 weeks. I just needed some space from my machine. And then I start looking at patterns and looking at fabrics because what I need is not like a tried and tested. I need something that I'm
Mhm.
interested in. So, what I've started doing, and this might be helpful because I know this person's on Instagram, I save patterns. Whenever you have a scroll, I save patterns I like. I save images I like, I save videos I like, and I've started scrolling back through them when I have moments of lower inspiration. And 3 months ago, I saved a video of the just patterns in Air's dress, totally forgot about it. Scrolling and went, oh, that's stunning. I want that. I have ordered it. I'm sat next to the fabric. I'm cutting it out after this call because I'm excited by it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
actually, that looks fun. But I've got to give myself space to get excited again
Mm.
and to not feel, because the thing is for me, once you start going, oh, I've got to say something, but it becomes another thing on the list, right?
It's like a chore as well
Yeah,
then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And as somebody with like 3 jobs, I don't need more on the mental list. And I don't want my hobby becoming something I can't enjoy because it's stressful.
Mm.
And I think as well, sometimes with Instagram, there can be a pressure to like create
Yeah.
and to do new things and to sew stuff and to be present with new. But sometimes actually just taking a step back and going and doing something else you like can
Yeah.
also really help.
Yeah.
What do you
Cool.
do, Sam?
I do a mixture of what Ruan does and something completely different. So I'm like you, Ruan. I have to just get it all in a notebook. I have endless notebooks full of hopes and dreams of things I want to sew because I agree with you. I have to get them out and down because then they're not swirling around in my head.
Yeah.
And then
Mm.
I will do the same. I'll go which 1 or 2 or which 3 do I wanna do first. So I'm like you, I kinda look through it, and then at least it's, like, down on paper and I can pick through it rather than it
Yeah.
all jumbling up in my head. The other thing there's 2 other things I do actually. Sometimes I'll just go and shop my stash and pull out a few fabrics that I then put on a
Mm.
shelf in my sewing room because my stash is in another room, and they're, like, the fabrics I really would like to use right now. And it means that by seeing them, I get excited because I'm sort of mulling what I want to do with them because then they're sort of really present in my mind. And then I get excited. Like you're saying, Jess, it's about getting excited. Like, actually, that's a lovely wintry fabric and I really want to sew that this season before it's gone again. And I'm excited and I
Yeah.
mull over what I want to do with it. But the other thing I do is I review my wardrobe and work out what I would like to have, like a gap, or what I'd like to go with other things, or actually, do I
Mm.
need a smarter pair of trousers or a pair of trousers I can wear to work, or do I need a cardigan to go with the dresses I've made and I haven't got one? So I do sort of review my wardrobe, and that then makes a separate list of hopes and dreams as well. And then sometimes it's like a sort of a matching game as I match them up. Yeah, there's a lot of like writing things down. But I do think sometimes if you go to your wardrobe and think, because I used to do it when I used to only buy secondhand, I'd have my wishes list of what I would find secondhand, of what I didn't have in my wardrobe. And I still use that a bit with sewing. Like, oh, I would really love a different skirt to swoosh around in at work. And then I go off and find
Mm.
what that would be, you know.
There's nothing better than that feeling, though, is there? When
Yeah.
you've planned a project and you're so excited to get started with it.
I
That
know.
feeling is just so good.
Does
Love it.
anyone else get the issue sometimes where you're like, I'm really excited to sew this, but sometimes you're like, I'm really excited to wear this, but I have to
Not
hem
sew
it,
it.
or like I have to I know sewing it's gonna be fine, but I really want to wear it, and you're like,
Yeah.
How
oh
many
god,
times
I
have
have
I
to do this
seen
bit now.
you where I'm wearing an unhemmed top tucked in?
Yeah, I mean, almost every time you've seen me, I've got a raw hem somewhere.
Yes.
Because sometimes I'm like, oh, I'll wash it and
I
then
want
I'll
to
do
wear
it,
this
and then
right
it's 3 years
now.
later, and then you go, oh, I've got to hem it now. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think sometimes I love I am excited. I'm sat next to a pile of pattern pieces. I'm gonna cut out because I had to go get lining yesterday because I didn't realize I had lining. And past me would have gone, oh, I won't line it, but I've learned, and I do have to line Swiss cotton because it's just too thin.
Yeah.
It's just too thin. And I'm excited to do that, even though the Inez dress is 90% straight lines. So it's
It's
going
a
to take
lot
an hour and a
of pieces
half.
though, isn't
Like,
it? A lot.
yeah, it's a lot, but
Mm,
it's just long straight seams. There's nothing difficult.
mm.
It's just stick a zip in and we're done. But that's exciting in a way because it's going to create something beautiful.
You're imagining the end result, though, aren't you? At the end of the
Exactly,
day,
yeah.
that's what we're excited about, isn't it? Because we can
Yeah.
see the vision, can't we? I mean,
Yeah.
sewing it is just a process, isn't it? Which is
Yeah.
enjoyable, but the ultimate thing is putting that garment on that you've imagined and looking at
Mm.
yourself in the mirror and going, "Oh, I love this."
Yeah, no, exactly that. And I think that's the thing. I'm looking at this pattern going, I love the waist on it. I love the neckline. I love the zip. I'm
Mm.
already planning shoes in my head. And that's how I know it's I don't
Yeah.
know if you guys do this. Do you already start thinking about how you're going to style it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you start thinking, oh, I could wear it with that and I could wear it this way. That's so exciting to me. I would actually, I'd second Sam's recommendation of going through your own wardrobe because
Yeah.
sometimes either you reacquaint yourself with what you like or you go, God, I just don't have this, do I?
Yeah.
Like this core piece I really want. And you can take it from there. But thank you very much for asking us as well. We're very
Yeah.
honoured
Yeah.
that you shared that with us. And that goes for everyone who writes in,
Mm.
whether you're someone who wants to be kept anonymous or someone who just, are happy for us to read your name out. If you comment on things, if you leave us reviews, if you private message us, we really love to hear from you and we really appreciate the community that's grown up
Yeah.
around the pod, don't we?
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
so grateful. And we feel quite honoured, I think it's fair to say, that you do trust us with your questions,
Yes.
comments, concerns, and frankly hilarious opinions. Because some of the things people message us, I'm like, I love it. I love everything about this. I can't say this publicly, but I love it. On that note, by the time you hear this episode, it will be the 6th of March. I'm looking at
Yeah.
Sam,
Yeah.
which means you have 2 weeks until you're hopefully coming to see us in person.
Yes.
So what do they need to send us?
So we would love your sewing secrets, your sewing confessions, any sewing questions. Like, what would you like to hear Jess and I have an opinion on that might push Jess to the point where she swears? I would love that.
It's not a push, is it? It's a
'Cause I can
gentle
keep
just
those
waft.
back secretly and not tell Jess, and then I can wheel
Actually,
them out.
it is much more fun when I don't know what she's going to tell me. So feel free to private message Sam
Yeah.
things you want
Yeah.
our opinions on. But make sure they're acceptable enough that the Stitch Festival will invite us back. Thank you.
Don't you worry. I'll worry about that. You go for it, everyone. Just get them out there. Like, I would love to know your opinion on, or I need to confess that I have. They're the kind of things that we want to hear. So.
Or, and we can keep you anonymous. So just tell us if you want to be anonymous. That's totally fine. You can tell us, I never do this. I always do that.
Yep.
I think people who do this are insane. No problem. Just tell us. Again, we'll pass out any that we won't be able to talk about. Now, obviously, we're doing that in 2 weeks' time from when this episode comes out. Ruan, is there anything you would like to spotlight so our lovely listeners can find you in other places?
No, not really. Other than obviously, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram. Obviously, each year as well, we do the So Frugal challenge. Myself and Sam from Frugalissima. We're not actually doing it in the same month as you this time, though, Jess.
I know, I
unfortunately,
saw that.
yes.
But
So
that
we
means I
pushed
can
it
join
back.
in.
I know, absolutely, and I can definitely do yours as well.
Hooray!
So yeah, we've just moved it to May this year rather than March. It will probably be March ongoing, but I'm away for quite a bit of March, so we decided just to make things a little bit easier because as you know, Jess, running a challenge is hard work.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just moved it back to May. So if anybody's kind of wondering why they're not hearing much about it at the moment, that's the reason why. It is still going to be taking place this year. It's just going to be a little bit later on in the year.
It's one of my favourite challenges. I found some of my most favourite patterns through that.
Oh,
Love
that's
it.
really good to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I always have an idea for it, and then as you know, Ruan, the life happens, and then I'm like, oh, it's the end of March. Oh God, I've missed it. So I will be taking part in May. I'm very excited about that. That is also, by the way, a really useful thing because we are recording in February, and I did totally forget. Because it's the 6th of March, that also means we're a week into Solar Referendo by the time this comes out. So please join in. It's our 5th year. We are quite close to raising 10k for Endometriosis UK, and I would really like to hit that in our 5th year. And we have got a party once again, which is going to be on the 29th of March. Tickets are now available via Eventbrite. They've been available for a few weeks, so hopefully by now they're nearly sold out. So go. It's 29th of March. It is at the Wades Community Centre in Princess Risborough, which is where the Southern Social is held. So if you're a Southern Social devotee, you'll know where we are. Princess Risborough is accessible on the M40 if you drive, or on train lines from London, Birmingham and Oxford. So please come and see us 1 till 5 in the afternoon. It's a party. And very soon I'll be able to announce we've got some local pop-ups as well. So we've got some local fabric shops that you may not know who are going to be supporting us. So please come and see them as well. Sam, have you got anything on your incredibly long list you would like to spotlight for March?
Not by the time this comes out, I don't think. I think everyone's got enough there. There's always something
but you're
I'm up
editing,
to,
so if you think of something, stick it in the edit. It'll be fine. Future Sam's voice will appear.
Yeah.
So we have to say the most enormous thank you, Ria. Thank you for being such a fantastic guest. Thank you for bearing with us, and for just being such a joy.
We've had a lovely,
time.
lovely time. Yeah, thanks so much for inviting me. I've really enjoyed it. It's been really good fun.
Lovely to have
we're
you.
so
and
glad.
have your biscuit knowledge as well.
Yes, exactly.
Anytime.
We'll be calling you in as our consultant.
Yes.
So, listeners, if you've got questions, comments, as always, send them in. We'll find something to ask you about the episode. Sam's much better at that than me. And I'm going to do my usual little plea. Please review us on Apple Podcasts if you haven't already. It massively impacts how people find us. So do us a favour, and before our live app, go and leave us a sneaky review on your podcast platform of choice, but particularly on Apple Podcasts because that's the one that actually affects the ranking, so that lots of lovely new sewists can find us as well. But otherwise, I think that's us for this week. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.